Hi and welcome back to another video of jPlay. I am Marcus, and today again I'm doing something new because this is the first time I'm recording something on Tabletopia, and it's about Monasterium. We are basically a dean of a cathedral school, as it's written here, and basically we are trying to accommodate the novices entrusted to you in the monasteries and thus establish a distinguished reputation. You send novices according to their talents and whatnot. So we are playing this game over 3 so-called years. I'm demonstrating a 2-player game today, which means each year consists of 2 rounds. And again, this is something that scales very nicely in respect to the amount of players. So in a 3-player game, you will each year consists of 3 rounds. So everyone gets to be the starting player in any given year, which is definitely something cool. On top of this, as far as I understood, there is a 2-sided game board. So I believe we are now looking at the game board for a 2-player game. On the other side, the game for the 3 to 4-player game. Personally, I would have loved to show you the real deal, so the cardboard version of the game. The problem is it's not yet out. I was being told it might be ready for next week's Spiel Digital, if not then soon after that. And again, I was basically honored to get an introduction to the game by the designer Arver himself, and really did a great job running me through this game. I have not really fully played this game yet on Tabletopia here, so I really did only some, let's say, demo rounds, which is also the reason why I think I will not do a full playthrough of this game today. I will do a couple of rounds, show you some of the components and leave you there. Maybe once I have the final product of the game, I really might consider doing an actual and full playthrough here. I hope that's fine for you. As part of setup, I really didn't get to choose which colors to use, so I have to play with red and green. And of course, the nice thing about Tabletopia is that you basically get your setup done by the platform itself. So usually you see all these little meeples here. I think they're not really meeples, but those are your novices. You have those tiles here, which might change. We have all our starting resources. We have our starting dice and whatnot. The game board is also populated in respect to those cathedral windows here. So everything has been taken care of for you, which is definitely something which I quite like about this game. I will not go through the components here. I will follow my normal way of doing things, whatever, start playing it and explain you everything as I go. But as mentioned before, I don't think I will be doing a full playthrough here. The starting player is usually the player who most recently visited a monastery. I definitely went to a church not too long ago just for some sightseeing. Not sure if this counts, but as there is no blue player and usually I play with blue, I really do not care who's going first. So let's simply say that, I don't know, red is the starting player, which means he will get this chalice. That's the starting player token. And again, there is no real disadvantage being not first, for example, because again, this is going around the table and everyone gets the same amount of starting player turns, which is nice. So I will drag this chalice marker down there, and I think then let's get started. Okay, here we are. The first thing that you do during your turn is to roll all of your remaining dice. You start the game with one of your colored dice. That's really your own die. No one else can use it. And then, depending on the amount of players, you get some of those neutral dice. And this is something you get at the start of each round. Later on, there is a way getting extra color dice for you, or basically dice in your color. But for now, that's the starting setup. So what you do now is roll all those dice. And then you, have to start assigning those dice. And you do that by pretty much choosing one number, and then you have to assign all dice that show this number, similar to Monster Expedition, which I did some playthroughs very recently. So this is something that's done here too. So for example, red could now assign all those 4 dice to the space 3 up there. Not quite sure if that's the best deal, quite honestly. So I think we may want to take this 6 die. I think let's go for it. So he will assign the die number 6 to this space, which is a wildcard space, or joker, I think the rules refer to. So you can use this die for any other action that is available to you. Right now you only have the standard actions available. Later on you will have more. And also another good thing is, as I already mentioned, no one else will be allowed to use that die. But that's already the first dice placement of the red player. Let's do the same for green. Let's roll those, and ooh, that's tempting too. I think, do we want to go for this one here? The one is one of the most powerful actions, I would say, because this allows you to send out your novices. But on the other hand, here we also have the wild card. And again, this wild card can be a 1-2. So I think, if he now places a 6 here, though, basically all those 3 6s, no, I think that's okay. I think we might be able to take the risk, or maybe not. No, let's go with the 3s. Again, I have not really played this game, so I'm far from a master, or far from being a master here. So I think, but this sounds to me like a good idea. Back to red, so I will really do that relatively quickly, not explaining you everything. Okay, wow, 2 5s. 5s would allow you to move your card 2 times, and I think red is the starting player, so he gets to choose which dice to resolve first anyway. So I think, yeah, let's go for the 5s here. And let's assign those over to green. Reroll again. Well, that's now the 6. I think I will take that 6 because, again, that's absolutely unique to the green player here too. Back to red. Let's roll those dice. 4. 4 would be a rosary. More. Let's go with the 4 for this rosary. Again, I'm not quite sure if that's the best deal or not, but let's do it anyway. Ooh, another 6, another 3 or 1. I think in this case, we could also consider to reroll, by the way, if you're not really happy. But I think the 1 is okay, right? Yeah, let's do that. Back to red, who has still 2 more dice left. Okay, that's a 4 and a 5. I think the 5 might be great, actually. Let's put the 5 in here. Green also still has 2 more dice left. Oh, also a 5. Another 5 could be good. I think, let's go for the 3. Yeah, I think this could make sense. And then it's the last die for red. Keep in mind, they both still have a reroll. You can reroll any number of dice. Or no, all the dice, I believe. You do a total reroll. And that's 2. I think a 2 is okay. 2 he wants to leave there because it doesn't really do any damage. Oops. And then we roll that die here. That's also a 2. Yeah, why not? Let's also keep the 2 for now. Okay, that was pretty much the dice placement phase. And now again, in starting player order, we are now resolving those actions. And you get to choose, so it's going back and forth now, which dice to take and which dice to activate. Of course, there are some rules to that, which I will explain once I get there. But I think let's start resolving those actions now. I guess red wants to go with the 5. So when you zoom down here a little bit on those spaces, you see this max 3 dice. And this doesn't mean the maximum you can place here are 3 dice. That's pretty much taking the dice to your player board, to your windows there, and activating those. So here it's a maximum of 3. So let's say there would have been 5 dice here on this 5. Up to 3 red could take here. There is only one exception to this rule. That's this joker space. There's only 1 die left. So whenever you go there, you can only take 1 of those dice. And what's true for all of those spaces, when there is a die of your color, so let's say red player goes here, you have to start using your colored dice first before you go for those neutral dice. But I think, again, in this case, let's grab those. And we will place them here accordingly. Now you start resolving all of those dice one by one. So this die here right now only gives you the standard action, which is to move your card. And again, this is one action. So it's not one action that's worth 3 points or so. It's 3 unique actions, which can be quite important to some extent, especially when you are moving your card. Later on, as soon as you start sending out your novices, you will unlock more options for the dice you're placing here. So this space here, for example, allows you to upgrade one of your resources. Here you simply score some points, for example. Here you get a window from a chapel and whatnot. So that's really powerful stuff you can do there sooner or later. But right now, again, only those standard actions are available to you. So the first time we are using this die, and then it goes simply out, not of the game, but basically out for now. Let's put it down here. we are now allowed to move our card, which is called the messenger, by the way. So this was the red player, so we are moving this card one space ahead, and we immediately get this bonus that's printed on this space, and this is activate another of your actions, or an action that is currently available to you. Again, right now that those are only the basic actions, but it's still powerful enough, and you do that right away. So before we continue to use our dice here, we will activate this space. And again, sending out a novice could be crucial. We have to make several choices now. First of all, we have to make a choice to which monastery we are sending the novice to, and this is now dependent on where your messenger currently is so-called presenting. So right now, this messenger, you see that here is presenting to this monastery, but it's also presenting down to this monastery. Apart from that, we also get to make a choice if we want to send the novice now to the chapel, to one of those buildings here, or to the cloister. The cloister right now is out of scope because we don't have anyone adjacent to in those buildings here. Only then you are allowed to do that. There are also multiple reasons why you would go for this versus that monastery. For example, right now I feel we should send a novice up here because you see that in order to present to this monastery, we have to be in these 1, 2 of 3 spaces. But the monastery down here could also be presented from these 2 spaces here. So maybe that's the best deal. And then there are, again, multiple reasons why you want your novices in those monasteries. First of all, you will unlock more spaces. Second, you will be able to present them if your guys are there. Later on, you will be also able to claim your windows, for example. But I think what's most important are those end of game scoring opportunities. So this one here, for example, gives you 5 points. You do that for each monastery, and it's simply a majority scoring for each of those monasteries. So that's one reason to have as many novices in one single monastery, for example. This one here is a multiplier, so you multiply the amount of your novices in a chapel, multiply those with the novices in your cloister, and then multiply this product here by 2, and that could be really a hell of a lot of points. Additionally, you will then also check in how many different chapels you are available. So if you manage to be present in 5 different chapels, that's also worth 15 points. You will get 1 point for each 2 points for each book, and then you will also get some half points for all the other resources to use. So that's definitely one of those things where you have to see, okay, what do I want to focus on? Do I want to really be present in many different chapels? There might be a good reason for that. This could give you this, but focusing on this one could be also relatively important and could give you really a hell of a lot of points. And on top of that, we also have those so-called missions here. Those missions, I believe they are the standard missions here, but in the final version of the game, I think there is some variety. So you shuffle them, so they're all so these are 2 A's, these are B's, then we have some C's here, and you can claim those throughout the game. So let's say you have one of your novice in a building of this monastery, you have one of your novices in the chapel of this monastery here, the red one, and on top of this you have one of your novices in a building of this monastery here. So basically in 3 different monasteries, and sometimes also in 3 different areas, here in the 2 different areas, then you can immediately score those points here. If you happen to manage that during the first year, that's 12 points, 9 points, and 6 points, and you're not taking anything away. So if both players are managing this to do that in the year 1 here, for example, they will both get 12 points. And then there is more A's, there are more B's. Of course, you can immediately go into the B scoring if you want to. And then on top of this, these C tiles, they're usually end of game scoring opportunities and give you some points here too. Once you have decided which monastery to go for, and maybe also decided if you want to send your novice to the chapel or to a building or to the cloister, it's time to think about which of your novices to send out. So let's say I want to send really one of my novices to a building, then I would look here at this very first row, and then I could really decide, do I want to unlock this ability, that ability, or whatnot. And again, here I basically have to send someone to a building. There are 3 types of buildings. So there are the secular buildings, the workshops, and the so-called community rooms. And depending on where you want to send it, it's more, let's call it, expensive. So the most cheap, or the cheapest building, are the secular buildings. Or secular buildings, sorry, which are those yellow buildings here. You see this little teapot here, and sending your first novice to go here would cost you usually 2 of your soup tokens, which you start the game with. You have the workshop, you need tools, you see that here. And again, if it's your first novice from that row, or from the first row, sorry to that, say that from the first row, it's 2. And if you take a novice from the second row, then it costs you 3 of those. And the same is true for those books. You also gain some different bonuses when you send someone here. Here, for example, when you send a novice here to one of those secular buildings, you get, I believe, a tool and a victory point. If you send someone to the workshop, you get 2 victory points and a book tile, which is nice. And if you manage to send someone here to the community room, that's 1 building here, by the way, you can only send 1 novice here, then you will immediately score 3 points, and you will also go a church window tile from the monastery where he was placed. So that's really nice. Problem is we don't have any books. So I think it's either sending someone here to one of those secular buildings, or we might want to send someone here to the chapel. Again, both of those things could be beneficial to us, but I think we want some easy points and we want to get some resources. So maybe we should really go for an easy secular building. And then again, we have to make a choice. Do we want this, or that? And I guess getting influence is powerful, but also moving your messenger, or getting the ability to move your messenger even more, could be beneficial. So let's say later on I might get 3 ones. I might not be able to send 3 novices out there to the board because I don't have the resources. So I might want to use one of those ones here to go that, but the same is true for the other things here too. And again, getting influence is also important because again, on top of the resources you have to spend, and usually you also have to spend your influence here. And again, this is also true if you want to send someone here to the chapel. So I guess unlocking this space doesn't sound like a bad idea. So yeah, let's grab this guy. Again, we will spend now 2 of our soup tokens here because we are sending him to a secular building from the first row. If I would do the same from the second row, then this would have been 3. I don't have 3 soup tokens, so I get the first choice here. And on top of this, you see that here we also have to spend 1 influence. And I might be wrong, but this looks like Arbor actually, to some extent, at least how I see him in my mind. Not quite sure, and apologies if that's not him. But those are the resources that we have to spend. Next, we will track this guy and place him on one of those secular buildings here. Again, we have made a choice to go for this monastery up here. So I think let's simply place him here. Nicely done. So right now we already have the majority in this monastery. So this could be 5 points at the end of the game. So that definitely might be beneficial here. The thing is, this was only our very first die, if you recall correctly. So we are doing the same thing here again. And now we could have really decided to use this meeple instead, because for the next die we could have then also chosen, for example, to go for this action here, upgrading one of our tiles. So we could have upgraded a soup tile into a tool, or a tool into a book. Right now we don't have those, so I think doesn't really matter at this point in time. So I think this was still the best bet for now. And I guess then again, for the second move, we are simply, oops, that was wrong. I think we have to go here. We will move it to this space. Nothing else will happen here. And then we are spending our third die here accordingly, again moving our messenger to this space here. We are still connected to this monastery, but now we can also start placing or sending our novices to this monastery up there, which is also nice. And again, we have to make a choice. We could now either go for an influence or for a rosary. The rosaries are important later on, sending someone to the cloister. We are still relatively far from that, so I don't think we should do that. So let's simply go for 1 influence for now, because again, we need influence sending out novices anyway. Wow, this was just the very first action of the red player. Of course, I could imagine things are much faster when you're actually playing this and not explaining the rules as you go, but I really hope you see with how many decisions you are dealing with in a very standard turn of the game. Next, it's the green player. And I guess there is no reason not to go for these 3/3s here, right? I think that's okay. Getting influence as soon as possible is definitely key. I already prepared those here because really dragging this stuff is kind of stupid in Tabletopia. I'm not quite sure if I do something right, but as soon as I'm dragging something, I cannot move back and forth between those cameras. Not sure if that's only me or if I'm pretty sure it's me. So we will now resolve those one dice at a time. The thing is, we only have, or green only has the standard action available, so we're taking 1, 2 and 3 of those influence tiles. So those dice have been taken care of, and that was relatively quick turn. So it's now back to the red player, and there is another tasty one here. Another one. We still have this one here, but I think but the 2/2s here are also great, because again we could send some more novices to a secular building. I think let's take those 2/2s, which means for the first 2 we are getting, or should we we could also go for the 4, then we could activate this influence. No, let's go for the 2/2s right now. We don't have to use it right away. First 2 is a soup. Second tube is another soup, and that's already the end of the turn. And then it's back to green. I think green could now go for the 1 just to send out some... that's interesting. That's really because he really has a lot of those. Let's go for the 1. And I think he's also now going to send out one of his novices here. We are going for this row here, and the very first novice you're sending out here, let's zoom in a little bit, costs you 1 influence, 2 influence, and 3 influence. So for the third one onward, you pay 3 influence here. And again, there are 5 in each of those roles. And there is another bonus. Once you have unlocked an entire row, you get a free novice of your choice, and you can place him pretty much anywhere. There are still some things you have to follow some of the rules, so you have your messenger there, for example, or you have to have a novice there. But I think in this case, going now for this one could be really beneficial, and I'm really thinking of doing the same thing again. So I guess we will take this novice here. We are spending 1 of our influence here. And again, we have to send this novice now to a monastery, which we are presenting to. Right now, this is only possible through the messenger, but that's not really a problem. No, let's do that. And you see that. Let's drag it up here. We could send him here or there. I think, let's send him down here, actually, to this monastery. And in a 2-player game, in the chapel, there can be 4 of novices. So it could be 4 of your own, it could be 3 of green player, 1 of the red player, but 4 is the maximum. So that was pretty much the very first novice action. And I guess then it's already back to the red player, and right now he knows no one is taking this red die away from him, so I think he will definitely go for this 4. And again, he could now choose to go for a rosary, but now as he has unlocked this space here, he could also decide to go for the influence instead, and maybe that's what he wants to do. Let's go for that. So instead of doing this, he's now doing that, which gives him simply this extra influence, the one that green just spent. And then it's back to green, and again, he can make a choice now. And again, basically he has to take the 6 here, and the 6 is a wild card. So in theory, he could now send out another of his novices. Of course, he could go for some soup, but I think in this case we might want to go for this action down here, which simply gives you a window of a tile where you of a monastery where you currently have 1 of your novices present. Right now we just did that, so I think in this case let's place that die here, and then we are grabbing 1 of those tiles. And again, in a 2-player game there are basically 2 times the number, or 2 times 2 windows available here. So we are taking this little cathedral window here. Of course, one thing that I really forgot, we have to make sure we are not forgetting the mission here. But I think in this case, that's still okay, because we want to be present in this chapel of this monastery up here, which we just did. So this is basically represents the monastery down there. So the window we have just taken down here. But again, this is independent of the window we have just taken. Now we have the next little mini game of the game, which is to place your windows in your little cathedral school here. You have to start from the left, but you can do that in each of those columns. And once you start placing those, you get the bonus immediately, depending on where you placed it. So I think in this case, we could place the window here, for example, and this could give you either a soup, or we could send out our messenger twice. And of course, later on, if we complete this complete row here, we get some victory points here too. And the same is true for this column here. So that's 4 victory points. So another little scoring opportunity in here. Really so many dimensions you have to think in this game, but really, really enjoyable. On top of this dice placement mechanic, which I really love in games, actually. So I think, should we do that here? Yeah, I guess so. We have enough of those things, and the next window we are placing already could give us a tool, and the next one would give us a book, and those books are really extremely powerful to get the more powerful buildings later on in those monasteries. So I think, yeah, let's do that here. Again, we get the bonus here immediately. Oops, I keep using the wrong camera, which is now 2 spaces. 1, 2, which now means we have passed over this space, so we can activate again. And again, we could now send out another of our novices. Right now, we are still adjacent to this monastery and this monastery here. But I guess we really, 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 really want someone here in a building of that monastery here, because if we would do that, we would already have 2/3 of this mission here completed. I think that's definitely something to consider. So I guess we will take 1 of our influence, we will take 2 of our soup tiles here just to go for a secular building. Again, we get to choose which one to go for. And maybe we want this upgrade here, or we want this, but we want to be in buildings, right? So we need more soup later on. So let's go for this novice here. And again, we have to send him to a secular building. And again, we have to send him here before someone else is going there. So right now we are adjacent, or basically present in both of those monasteries. And again, you have to check that here. So for this first condition, you have to be in one of those buildings. That's the greenish line here. And for this goal here, or this sub goal here, we have to be in the chapel of this monastery here, which we also just achieved. Next would be the blue one. And blue is this one here with this angel, and artwork is really nicely looking, by the way. I love it a lot. So that was definitely a very, very, very cool turn for green. But I think red still can go, actually. And we still have that. And I guess he wants to do the same thing, sending someone down here. This also helps in respect to all those majorities. I guess that's the best deal. So maybe we also want to send out yet another of our novices, right? And we may want to send someone to, yeah, let's do that here. We will spend 1 of our influence. We will simply place it here. And again, we will send out the very first one here. Again, we could go for either of those. It doesn't really matter in this case. But again, it could matter later on if you have really a hell of a lot of dice to activate. So you really want to make sure you are starting unlocking this one column here to get as many choices as possible for one of your actions. On the other hand, you want to diversify and say, no, let's better take one out here. And really depends a little bit on which dice to go for. Going for those 2s here, which is as the core action, not that powerful, could be also a good idea. So I think let's go for this. We will place it or place him into the same chapel as the green player here. So they have both now 2/3 of this mission here achieved. And I believe this simply means to have some of your dudes in, I think, 3 different ones, if I recall that correctly. I have to check the rules again. I will not do a full playthrough, but I think let's focus on something which I completely understand right now. And okay, one thing I already forgot to actually, which was really stupid. So when you send out one of your novices to a secular building, you also gain some victory points and you also get some tools. So both of the players should have gotten one tool. So let's do that. Sorry for that, stupid me. Let's drag it down. So one goes in here, one goes in there. So that's really one of the ways how you're getting those extra tiles. It's also printed down here again, and they should also both have taken one victory point actually. But again, that's not a big deal. Let's simply do that now. No harm was done here. And again, if you send someone here to a workshop building, you get a book and 2 points. I believe I explained that. And if you send someone to the community room, you get a window from that same monastery pretty much for free, and also 3 extra victory points. I also don't know if this is a very high scoring game actually, or how high you usually score. I believe there are some markers for 100 points. I think they are, right? Maybe not. So, but again, I will not go through the full game here anyway. So I think that was the first round of the first year. I think we have discarded those tiles. So let's make a little in-between storage here, so I don't have to drag and basically go back and forth those areas of the game board here. And again, that was the very first round of the first year. So what will happen now? We will move the chalice over to the next player. All of the players will take their dice back. They will also get all basically 5 neutral dice again. So I think, yeah, one has to go in here. The same is true for the red player. And then we will basically do the same thing again. And this time of the year, we will start with the green player. And I believe I will keep going. Maybe we will complete the full year here now, because then really things start to get a little bit more interesting. So green will roll all dice again, and we'll have to make a choice. Now that's an interesting roll. He knows he will be first, so I guess he will place those 2 5s here. And again, there are some really nice things that you can go here. You can gain resources, or you can upgrade your resources. Here you get a window, but again, you have to have one of your novices there, for example. Or is it? I think, or is it? Or can you take it anywhere actually? I think it's written in the rules. You may immediately take a church window tile from any monastery. No, that's perfect, of course. But the last one here is also quite powerful. So when you go to the last space here, so let's zoom down a little bit, you get either 5 points, that's okay, but or you could go for an extra die of your color. So there are still 2 more dice available to you. And again, getting more dice that are reserved for you could be definitely important. So that was the first placement for the green player. We will do the same now for red. Oh, 2 rosaries. Again, this could give him influence later on. I think, yeah, why not? Let's place those 2 4s there. I think that's okay. Let's roll the dice for green. Yeah, I think, but he is first anyway, but getting 3 movements is very powerful. No, let's do that here. I think that's cool. Again, then it's red. 2 4. Oh, okay, he could also make sure to get the 4s, the 6. That's now risky actually, but he could place another 5 there because he knows he would get it. Because again, the maximum of dice you can take from there is 3. On the other hand, why not? Let's simply flip this tile. I'm not quite like this, so we can re-roll those dice. That's a 1. Let's go with a 1. I think that's okay. Let's go with a 1. And then it's green again. Rolling, a 6, another 5, which doesn't help him. Let's go for this 3 for now. Just send something out to the wild. Actually, let's see what happens with this. Back to red. Oh, 2 more. Oh, that's good. That could be 2 movement. Yeah, I think that's okay. That's 2 more movement for red too. Definitely possible. I think that's okay. Then it's back to green. Oh, a 1 and a... Oh, No, I think he doesn't want to place a 1 there, because if he goes now to this 5, on the other hand, he could all. I think he's also 5 for 2 movement. He could send 2 1s and could send out 2 of his novices if he manages to have enough resources, which I kind of doubt actually. So I think no. Let's place the 2 here first. Yeah, I think that's the better deal. And red only has 1 more die left. He doesn't have any more rerolls, so he has to place it here. Green still has a a 3. No, I think let's also flip this. Let's reroll that die, and that's a 6. Yeah, I don't know. But again, he's a starting player now, so he gets to choose first. So, and I think he really wants to 3 movement here, actually. So I think he will grab those 3 dice here. Again, if there is a die of your color, you have to start with that guy. So he could not have opted to go for the whatever 3 neutral die here. That's not allowed. So if there is one of the green die here, he has to take the green die first. But that's 3 movements nonetheless. So that was green, right? 1. Will he go for rosary or will he? No, let's go for more influence. I think so, even though there are more influence here. No, let's go for the influence. Then 1 and 2. So he can now either go for a soup. Yeah, or he could go for an upgrade. I believe that's what it's called, right? Let me check the little rule reference. You may take a soup tile or or an upgrade. Again, having some more resources could be beneficial too. So let's go there. And I think he still... Oh, wait, no, he was here. 1, 2, 3. No, that was his 3 individual movement points. Again, there were no alternative actions to the green player, so he is done. Nice. Okay, then we are moving over to the red player, right? 2 movements could be cool. 2 influence could be cool, but he could also go for the 6, which could be another... Oh boy, what to do? I think... But there's only 1 here, but then if he goes here, the other player could go for the 6. So I think it doesn't really change things too much anyway. So I guess let's go for the 2 3s. Or should he go for the 2, getting E? Because for the 2, he could also go for a window, actually. I think let's do that. Let's do that. So he will take the 2, and instead of getting the soup, he will use this action here, which you can only do once per turn, by the way. So let's say he would have taken 3 2s. You see this little ×1 here, which means you can only do that once. So for 3 dice, 2 he could go here, and 1 could be there. For example, the first row is something you can do pretty much indefinitely. So again, he will take one of those windows here, and again, getting 2 more moves could be pretty powerful here too. Let's do the same thing. Why not? Which means he will move 1 and 2, and now again he gets a soup or an upgrade, and I think he gets now 2 of those. No, let's go for an upgrade. So he will upgrade the soup into a tool, right? Yeah, let's do that. And again, sorry for this awful dragging of the mouse or the cursor here. But I think that was okay for this window here. So we moved the card twice and we have activated this die. So let's simply park it here. Back to the green player. Green could now take one of these 5s away, but he could do the same over here. The other hand, we might want to send more novices out, maybe to another chapel. That's interesting. Let's do that. So he will now spend 2 of his influence. Keep in mind, it's the 2nd novice he's sending out from this row. So it's 2 influence now. And looking at the board, I think it's either the 3 or the 4. And getting more choices here with the 3 could be beneficial too. So let's go for this novice here. And okay, right now, I think, can we? I think there is a connection. And we want to be present down here too. Oh, wow, that's working out perfectly. So we definitely will. No, we have to send it to a... Oh, that's bad. So let's rethink that. Let's quickly rethink that. So we want someone in a building, actually. The problem is we don't have the resources for that. Are you kidding me? But that's still okay. No, let's not take it back, because again, we will send someone here to the chapel, and later on, because we have now someone here in the chapel, we don't need to have the messenger next to this monastery in order to send someone here. So I think that's definitely still a win, right? I think that was okay. So what was this actually? What die did I activate? I kept forgetting. What did I do? I simply forgot to spend the die actually. Should I go for the 1 or should I go for the 6 now? That's now very interesting. Let's go for the 6. So I would have taken the 6 in order to activate this guy, basically sending out another of my novices here to this monastery. Now it's back to red again. Sorry for all this stuff. I think red could actually now complete this mission, the first mission, because he has 2 tools. So yeah, he will definitely go for the 1 and will send out one of his novices. Because he only has 2 tools, he has to go for the first row, but that's perfectly fine actually. So I think we will send out this guy, because then with the 1 he could move further. Yeah, let's do that. I think really unlocking those spaces and moving your messenger further might be beneficial. We are with our messenger adjacent to this monastery down here, which is cool. And we are spending 2 tools, which allows us to place one of our novices here, which gives us an immediate 2 points. 1, 2. And we would gain a book. How cool is that? Let's grab the book. So we have just gained our very first book. And of course, we have to spend our resources here accordingly. And that was 1 influence. So that's still okay. And I guess now we can check the missions again. Oh, that was again the wrong camera. So we are present in the building of this monastery here. We are present in the chapel of this monastery, and we are present in a building of this monastery here, which now allows us to take our very first disc here and place it on top of this. We did that during the very first year, which now gives the red player 12 additional points, and this really seems like a huge thing. Obviously, red can no longer go here, so even though there are more years to come, this has been scored for the red player, so now he has to focus on all of the other missions here too. But that was definitely a nice job. When you do that the next year, we will start losing points. It's only 9 points to you, so I think that was pretty helpful. Nicely done. Back to green, and I guess green wants to take the 2 4s here, right? Yeah, let's totally do that. So the very first 4 is easy because it will simply give him 1. I keep forgetting. A rosary. Again, right now we cannot use the rosary yet, but again, we already have now placed the first novices into the buildings, which also allows you to place your novices adjacent to those buildings here. Maybe I should just do that just to show that to you. The second die, he now gets to make a choice. He can go for a second rosary, but I don't know. Or he could unlock this ability here, and I think this is what he wants to do. So he will now take a window from another chapel here, because there's another rule in respect to those windows. So he will go for this one. He has a meeple there because green would not have been allowed to place a window of the same monastery, or the same red one, in the same column or row as this one here. So in this case, that's a blue one, though that's perfectly legal. So in theory, he could go for this one, would give him another tool or 2 more movements. What would 2 movements do? 1, 2. Oh, he could gain another window. I think we will go for the 2 movements here. So he will place it here. So again, he can make a choice to go for this bonus or for that bonus here. But I think closing this one off here is never a bad thing. But I think getting more movement now is definitely key. So green will move his card 1, 2 more spaces. So he can now take another window from anywhere. So I guess let's simply go for, I don't know, 1 down here, 1 up here. Let's go for this. Of course, he doesn't have someone here. So he will grab it And we'll place it here. So this will score him 5 points. And I've already forgotten if you score those 5 points right away. And I think you do actually. Most of the stuff is done automatically or in-game. And we also gain a bonus here. So it's again another 2 movement because it's the same row. Or it's a book. What is 2 movement? 2 movement would give him another die. So let's go for that. 1 and 2 more movements here. Perfect. So cool. So he has unlocked the die. And I believe you're rolling it right now and have to place it accordingly. So let's simply do that. So that's a 5. So he has to place it here. In theory, if he would have still a reroll, he could have rerolled that. But getting another movement is also not a bad thing. So I think that was pretty powerful. And I believe again, he will score those points right away. So that's 4 more points. He's still behind red. Big deal. But I think he now has more choices to him. So I think overall that wasn't bad either. Then it's back to red. There are still 2 3s, but I think he also wants movement here. I think we have to do that. But then he knows he will lose these 2. Wow, that would be 2 more movement for the green player. I think he cannot let that happen. No, he will grab those 2 dice here. So again, nothing is unlocked here, so we'll simply move his card twice now. So 1 and 2, but he also gets a window, so I think that's also not a terrible thing. Oh boy, I think let's go for this cathedral. Now it makes sense because I understand this one here. So you want to be present in pretty much 1 chapel and 2 buildings of this monastery here. So that's not a wild card, it's simply this window here. So apologies for that. Now I figured that one out. Again, we can make the same choice now, going for some, I think getting more moves. I think he would follow, but it feels really lame actually. But I think let's simply do it anyway, because again, unlocking those is definitely powerful. And I guess we will also go for this 2 extra move. I think red also wants those, or this extra die. And again, we are rolling this right away. And oh, that's another novice he can send out. Or he could move his card even further. I think that's quite okay. But then it's green. Green has no reason not to go for those 2 3s here. Because again, he knows no one can take this 5 here away. Which means he simply will grab 2 more influence. This is really this nice little mind game. Okay, what do you do first? And order of things really does matter in this. And then it's the last action for the red player. He will go for a 1. He could now send this one here, so basically sending out another novice, but I think, oh, he can't do that. He doesn't have enough influence to send someone to the chapel, and he also doesn't have enough of those, and he doesn't have, oh, he could send someone to a cloister actually. So maybe that could be an idea too, because again, he has someone adjacent to that building and you don't have to spend any influence. You only have to spend the rosary. That could be something to consider, because this also allows you to flip this tile here. So maybe that's what he wants to do. Yeah, why not? So he will spend the rosary. And now again, we have to make a choice which one of those to take. Wait a second. Do we still have a die left? No, I think we don't, right? I think we don't. No, only green has 1 more die left. That's a pity. But for the next round, it might be beneficial. So let's simply go for maybe this one here. Or this one? No, let's go for this one here, simply to get some more choices on this row here too. On the other hand, we could really start thinking about unlocking more spaces here. No, let's go for... no. That doesn't really matter. No, of course, the unlocking is in this row here. No, let's simply go for that one here. And again, we have to place it adjacent to one of our guys. And I guess right now, I think we still have to, I think sending out novices. Yeah, I think we still have to be present here. So we can only send it to either this cloister or to this cloister space. It has to be next to one of our dudes from a building here, adjacent to a building, so we could not place it here. So we have 2 available here. So I think let's simply, do I care? Let's place it here actually, because that might make it more difficult for the other players later on, or for the other player here later on. Yeah, why not? let's do it like this. And this also now unlocked this space. So the next time we use a 5, we could now then use the alternate action here, which would allow us to flip this tile here. So whenever then later on we are using a 5, we are not just moving our messenger, we would also score another victory point. So that could be pretty important. And then it's the last die of the game, which is simply a 5. And again, nothing has been unlocked here for the green player too. So it's simple. We are moving here to there, and that's at least how I understand. So we are moving, we are not starting here again and moving here. It's really one movement onto this space. If I miss that, then I'm really apologizing. And that's the end of the round. It's the end of the year, so this chalice goes back. Again, we will flip all of those reroll tiles. We are moving this thing over to the second year, and then again, yeah, would do rinse and repeat, do the same thing for year 2. But I guess I will end my playthrough or walkthrough here. Again, I might be able to save it, so if you're really interested seeing more of this game, I could imagine simply continuing to play. It's really up to you, but the idea of this video was really to give you a short introduction to this game. Really enjoyable. I really love the mind games in this one. I really love that you have to place dice. It's really different to the standard Stefan Fell place your dice game, because there are no real reason or means to alter the number of your dice. Of course, you have here this one reroll, but that's about it. You really have to live with what you roll. But again, you have so many abilities to unlock or options on unlocking special abilities or other abilities for those dice here, that you really don't need to do this die modification here, which is really a nice interesting twist to that genre. Overall, there are a lot of ways to score you a lot of points by those missions up here, by the end game scoring, in-game and whatnot. So also something which is very thinky and a very deep game. It's not that difficult. Some of the things, yeah, you have to remember things. Obviously, I did forget something. I really hope I will catch that during editing and will leave some comments there. But apart from that, I think it's really not an overly complex game, but it's very deep and you really have to think in various dimensions, also in respect to those windows down here and whatnot. So really a lot going on in this one. I really hope you enjoyed it. Really hope to see you soon in one of my other videos. The next one might be another real cardboard version of the game. I might be looking at finishing time that comes with a nice solo mode, so I'm really intrigued by that one too. As soon as I get hands on this physical copy of this game, I really might consider doing a full playthrough of Monasterium. But again, it's something that should hopefully help you get a better idea or understanding what this game is all about. A huge shout out to all of my patrons out there. Really do appreciate your support. And yeah, until then, bye bye.